Hey folks, Bill Bodner here. Thanks for tuning in to our MMG weekly recap. So the theme for our Mortgage Market Guide weekly newsletter is Congress printing and the Fed exiting. And we go through really what's going on this week. Obviously, the elephant in the room is Afghanistan. The story is highly uncertain. Just in the last few moments, we're hearing suicide bombing. So it's a nightmare. And I'm not sure, again, when, how, if it ends anytime soon. It doesn't feel like, and there's this 31st deadline, August 31st, that we're supposed to pull our troops out. Highly uncertain still. But guess what? Even with all that uncertainty and chaos, we're not seeing any improvement in mortgage rates or interest rates. In fact, rates have declined, and that's despite the Fed buying $5 billion in mortgage-backed securities per day, a boatload of treasuries per day. So the other side of this tug of war, all this negative news, is the notion that the Fed is going to exit. And can the Fed exit? Can they actually taper bond purchases now? A lot will be looked at next week. We have a lot of labor reports. We have the jobs report. We have the ADP report. The labor market right now, in our eyes, is underperforming. The labor force participation rate is very low. There's still many people on the sidelines. There's talk about, because of the rise of COVID, many states will be allowed to continue providing extended unemployment benefits. That does nothing to lower the unemployment rate. So, Mortgage Market Guy doesn't think the Fed can taper, but tomorrow afternoon on a Friday, we may very well hear it from the Fed. It would be very, very interesting, especially with all this uncertainty, to go ahead and exit now. But when you go back to the Fed, to the money printing, Congress is now about to embark on up to a $5 trillion spending plan. And in our eyes, it looks like the weight of that type of stimulus effort is weighing on the bond market. Why? First off, we've got to get people to buy this paper. And we've seen the auctions this week not do very well. Well, how are they going to do with $5 trillion more of bonds, right? Number one. Number two, what happens if the Fed exits? That's what I mean. How do they exit when right now they are the buyer of last resort in bonds, right? Rates have ticked up this week with the Fed buying bonds. What happens if they're not buying bonds? So there's the argument for not tapering. And then ultimately, if this $5 trillion or so gets passed, what happens to the U.S. dollar? Right? What happens to the dollar? Does it decline sharply? Does it make commodity prices go sharply higher again? Things like, commodities like oil and such. So there's a lot to track, folks. But for right now, we're watching this tug of war still play out, all of these negative forces, this uncertainty on one side, along with will the Fed taper and when? Because when they do exit, it does seem rates just have to go higher. So I hope this finds you well. Have yourself a great weekend. Be safe. We'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.